I'm going to give you a presentation today, and you'll just have to bear with me because it's numbers, numbers, numbers. And I must say I'm very, very grateful to the European Elephant Group, who've got the most fantastic database, and they have been providing me with the absolute latest information. Even still last night, I was getting data from China. So it's really, really up to date what I'm going to present now. I won't be able to go through everything, time restriction, but I think it'll just give you an idea of how many elephants are actually out there in zoos and safari parks. And this does not include any camps or riding elephants or privately owned elephants or the many, many temple elephants in Asia. This is just the registered zoos and safari parks. We've got a total of 498 facilities with a total of 605 African elephants, and our total elephants are 1,770. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the zoo lingo, it's what is in brackets is the first figure gives you the males, and to the right of the comma gives you the females. And if there's a third figure, those are the unknowns. It's been divided into the European Endangered Species Program, which is essentially Europe and Israel. The SSP is America and Canada. Then there's the Australian Species Management Plan, and further down Asia, Japan, and Africa. Right. Wild born of all these zoo elephants, I'm now talking about these 1,770 zoo elephants. There's most of them are wild born. There's only 542 which are captive born. And if you look to the right, you will see how many zoos there are, how many safari parks, and only 22 sanctuaries. Most of these elephants are either African or Asian, but some of them in the European region, in the SSP region, keep both species. As you can see, 7 zoos have both species either together in the same facility or in different facilities. Oops, sorry. This is countries with zoo elephants in the order of elephant numbers. So the most are in the United States, followed by China, Germany, Japan, etc., etc., etc. On the bottom graph are the zoos, the countries that keep less than 6 elephants down to 1 elephant. So there's quite a lot of countries with 1 elephant. And this is just to give you a breakdown of the countries that keep 1 elephant per zoo. There might be 2 or 3 or 4 zoos in a country, but they each only keep 1 elephant. Most of them are wild born. These are all the countries. And the next one, and there are 96 facilities holding a single elephant. 82 of them are wild born and 14 are captive born. If we look at the total births in zoos, I think I forgot to mention this data is from dates from the year 2000 to today. So nothing before 2000. Obviously the African elephants in the EEP region, that's in Europe, they have the most births, 143 births, with 388 Asian elephants, and less in the Americas, and going right down very, very little in Africa or in Asia of the African elephant. If you look at the total, they have been 268 elephants born since the year 2000. A total of 995 elephants have been born in zoos. And just to include the circuses at the bottom, you've got 101 births in circuses. We picked out a couple of countries which have very, very little births. These are mainly the countries that will be interested in getting wild elephants, such as China. They only have had 3 births since the year 2000. One of them was a stillbirth. Deaths, if we look at the deaths in the EEP region, in the last 19 years, 147 versus America, 118. But if we compare births versus deaths, there's slightly more deaths in the EEP region. There's substantially more deaths in the SSP region, the Americas, which is why they're interested in getting elephants. And we also did a graph to show the development of the stock since the year 2000. At the top, the blue, you've got the total. So in the EEP region, there's a slightly less elephants. And in the SSP region, there's even a slight increase. But as we saw earlier on, they had more deaths. So this is due to imports, that they now have slightly more elephants. Age distribution is quite interesting. In the European region, the average age is 24.8, as you can see, with most of the cows around between 20 and 40. In the Americas, most of the cows are between 30 and 50. So very little in the actually breeding age. An average age in the Americas is 30.5 years old. Different types of management, free contact versus no contact or protected contact. I'm just going to highlight a few points. In the EEP region, you've got nearly 63% that are in protected contact. In the Americas, you've got 73% that are in protected contact, managed by stud book or not managed at all. Then further down, the breeder. I think this is an interesting one. In the entire European elephant population of Loxodonta, you've got 56 individuals which are actually breeders. 14 males, 42 females. And in the Americas, 41. The origin, further down, captive versus wild born. In the European region, 9% are wild born. In the Americas, 75.8% are wild born. And interestingly, the reproduction in Europe, it's slightly more natural. 94% is natural births. And in the SSP region, they've got about a quarter of them, 25% through AI, that's artificial insemination. But if we look at the artificial insemination, out of the 56 births in the USA, there's 44% is artificial insemination. I'm just going to scan through this quickly because I see time's flying. Interestingly, in the Americas, if you look at the artificial insemination versus the natural reproduction, you've got live births versus stillbirths. You've got more out of 16 live births and 7 stillbirths resulting from artificial insemination, whereas naturally conceived elephants, you've got 93% of actually survival. Right, group sizes, elephants, these are facilities keeping 1 elephant, 2 elephant, 3 elephant, 4 elephant, etc., etc. In the European region, most of them are here around the 2 to 4 elephants. In the Americas, also around the sort of 2 to 5 elephants. Then calf survival, as we did the study, and this was of the breeding elephants in the European zoos. The age of the mother, if she was under 10-year-old, the survival chances were 33% of her calf. If the mother was 10 to 15 years old, there was a much higher survival chance of 88. And the highest was if she was between 50 and 20 years old. Then the imports, and I think this is now the interesting part for us. How many elephants have been imported, African elephants, this is only African elephants, since 2000? In the European region, 12, Americas 31, Middle Americas 14, and right down to China with 110 imported elephants, bringing the total to 177 imported elephants. There have been occasionally also transfers or additions coming from circuses, but most of them are originating from Africa. The origin of the wild boar, if we now look at the European region on the left-hand side, most of them come from Zimbabwe and South Africa, highlighted in yellow. On the right-hand side, you've got the Americas. Most of them come from Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Eswatini. Then, this is fixing onto China. What do we know about the 110 imports of African elephants since the year 2000? And this was up to 2 days ago. We were still trying to get information. And this is really, really up to date, what we have here. Imports, the destination to which zoos, how many have died, how many are still alive, and the origins. And all of them come from Zimbabwe, excepting the 2008 import, which is uncertain. But it could be South Africa, it could be Zimbabwe. So it's quite interesting that out of those 110, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, 99 are still alive. We know that it's 13 bulls, 20 females, and 66 of unknown sex. Then the destination, you've got all the zoos where the elephants were transported to. These are the baby elephants from Zimbabwe. We all know those pictures. And sometimes they went to a zoo, which was possibly accredited by CITES, but from then they get moved. If you look, for example, at the Wild Animal Park in Shanghai, imported 17 elephants, but from then they went to Leheledu, to Harbin, etc., etc., some of them even to Inner Mongolia. Right. I'm nearing the end. Just to give you an idea, these are some of the pictures from these zoos in China. At the bottom left, Kuwait Zoo. Otherwise, you've got the Mongolia Zoo and the Chinese zoos. This is how the elephants are kept in Mongolia. If you look at the play area at the bottom, huge play area. Some further Chinese zoos, a lot of them are trained, as you can see on the bottom picture. They have to perform, so they get something. There's more pictures I have of them performing. What is quite interesting, a lot of zoos have closed down. In total, 189 zoos have closed down the elephant facility. However, sadly, between 119 to 162 have opened up a new facility. So the difference is only between 27 to 70 maximum less facilities that now hold elephants. Injuries, we've got 66 in the EEP region, 38 in the SSP region. These are known injuries. And just my very last slide is to give you an idea of the Bristol report, which was done in 2008, of the elephants. How many of them have foot problem in zoos, limping, lame, major foot problems, sores, etc., etc. I think my time is up if I understood that bell correctly, and thank you very much.